Hello, my name is Matthew Carpinello. I'm excited to record this video for you today. I've been lucky enough to work with numerous thought leaders for 15 plus years, and what I've loved is working for companies that have a mission to make a change in the world. And so I'm excited to talk with you today, show you a little bit about my experience with the customer journey at one of our organizations. And I'll just go ahead and going to share my screen. What I'm going to talk about today is the membership journey for a re-enrollment process. So the company that I was talking about here is one where the students, we call them students there, would sign up for a year and they would receive content, coaching, events, seminars. And at the end of that year, we would go ahead and look to re-enroll them. So I wanted to talk about that process a bit, about what it was like, and then the enhancements that I brought to that customer journey to support both the students and the company. So just a quick overview, they were quarterly membership events, so they were virtual, and my team was responsible for producing those events. Our students, they were in a year agreement, so at the 9-month mark is when they'd be offered the opportunity to re-enroll into their next year. And the offer was presented on stage and then with a follow-up breakout session. So the breakout session was by invitation only. That's where the offer was reviewed, answered any questions, and then we would provide them with a link for a $1,000 non-refundable deposit. That's the only commitment they'd have to make at that event. And the events were 3-day events. And then once, for those who did sign up, we had our post-event process. They'd get a call from their program manager within 5 days, and they would congratulate them on re-enrolling, talk about next steps, bonus review of any bonuses they have. And then really a key thing was to get them to sign their agreement that actually locked them in for that year. So here's what worked about it, what I noticed when I started there. We had an effective deposit rate at the events. So we'd have anywhere between 30 and 40% of the individuals would actually, who were up for re-enrollment, put a deposit down. So that was great. There was urgency around securing event pricing because the deposit had to be done at the event. And we were really able to capitalize on the energy in that room, right? So our presenter would, talk about it, get them excited, and I think then they would, they would execute accordingly. And then we did have breakout session for them where we were able to provide a forum to answer questions that any of the students would have. But there were some things that I noticed right away didn't work and that we looked to say, what can we do better? The first was there was a low conversion rate from the enrollment deposit, that $1,000 that was put down, to the actual signed agreement. There was also a missed opportunity for students who didn't attend the event. That's the only time they were offered the option. And we had about 15 to 20% of people who may not make it to either the whole event or day 2 or day 3, which is when the offer was given. Our breakout session format, there was no space to answer questions for that were specific to individuals. And sometimes, if somebody was upset, that could be a tricky situation as well. If they were talking about something that may not apply to the whole group, but would impact the whole group. And we had a cumbersome post-event process. And lastly, a staff that might not have been equipped to support the objections or buyer's remorse. So here's some of the enhancements that I put into place. I broke them out in between company perspective and student or member perspective. They really all impacted the student journey, but I think it was important to, as a company, to look at some things behind the scenes that were really impacting this. And the first was really to distinguish those 2 different KPIs. When I started, again, re-enrollment was considered how many people put that deposit down. But there were really 2 key KPIs that needed to be tracked: deposits and signed agreements, because there were different things that needed to happen in both areas to improve performance. Creating urgency for the members. So there was an urgency to sign the deposit or get the deposit at the event, but no urgency afterwards. And again, they were signing up 3 months before their initial agreement ended. So that's a long time. And the longer time went on, the more likely that they were not returning their agreements. So we created an enhancement to say they needed to sign their agreement within 1 week to secure the pricing and the bonuses. So really putting that or extending that urgency so that they knew they should act now. Our coaches were also given a bonus, and what I noticed is the bonus was given based on the deposit that was put down. But what we did, we changed that to they were bonused on agreements that were returned, because they were key in being able to help move the person from just the deposit to actually moving on to that next year. And then we also aligned our employees to their zone of genius. So originally, the program manager did all of the welcome calls to the students. But what we realized is there were times when they weren't effective because they didn't feel comfortable handling the objections that came up. So what we did was we went ahead, and if somebody signed their agreement right away, then we did have the program manager just make that call. They can congratulate them, talk about the bonus, etc. If somebody hadn't signed their agreement within the first few days, in the follow-up emails, we would actually put the link to the calendar invite for our next steps enrollment person. And they're really our salesperson, the person who worked with the students at the event in the breakout session, and they knew much more about sales and how to handle those objections. We found that it supported all parties and made those calls that much more impactful. We also created a re-enrollment campaign for members who didn't attend the event so that we can get them in touch with our next steps coordinator instead of them losing out on that opportunity to continue on. Some more enhancements that we made from the member perspective is we customized the support at the event. So we provided one-on-one sessions, 15-minute sessions in addition to the breakout session. So if somebody didn't feel comfortable either asking their question or maybe had financial questions or issues, they can now sign up for these one-on-one sessions. And what we would do is anybody who is eligible for re-enrollment at those events, we would send them both an email campaign during the event and text messages. So if they wanted to sign up for those sessions that happened before or at the end of the day, so they didn't miss anything, they could go ahead and do that. We streamlined the process by making sure that the links were, in their welcome letter, also on the member portal, right on the homepage, so that they could just click right there and go ahead and get that taken care of. We also revamped the bonuses to provide them in a more timely and consistent manner. We noticed one of those bonuses was a session to plan their next year in coaching. And they were happening with multiple coaches at multiple times and sometimes not at all. So what we did is we standardized that process. We created a structure around it so that everybody knew when the call was going to be. It was also recorded. And then the findings of that call, when they kind of mapped out their year, they could then talk about those with their coach. So again, it made sure to keep them receiving value and enhancing why they were continuing on with us. We also made sure to celebrate the members and their commitment on Facebook pages and Facebook posts. What we realized is, yes, people love the content, but they also come back for the community and the recognition and also being part of the greater good. So that additional support really helped with that. So these are just some of the enhancements that I made initially on a re-enrollment process. I've loved this exercise because it really helps you to stop and think, hey, what are the things, both big and small, that really need to be put together and or tweaked in order to make the student experience the best one possible. So thanks for watching the video. I look forward to hearing back from you and learning next steps in the process. I'm excited about the potential. Thank you.